Okay, good afternoon and welcome everybody. Day one of BETT still, but we're now into the afternoon, so we're 3 hours into BETT. But I would like to welcome you all to this. I think I'm going to rename this session as jargon busting. And what the heck are some of these words we keep talking about? So let me just introduce my two guests today. We've actually got Mark. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi Mark, I'm from Intel, looking after our education portfolio in Europe.
And
he's not
Glasgow
on.
College, and it's not working. It's working.
Hey.
so let me introduce our two guests today. Mark.
Hi, I'm Mark from Intel, looking after our education portfolio in Europe.
And I'm Tom Duff from City of Glasgow College.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen, for spending a little bit of time over lunch with us. I thought, integrating existing tech, EdTech, Intel, Internet of Things, I thought maybe a good question to start with is, what do we mean when we talk about EdTech and education and learning and the Internet of Things? So maybe from Intel's perspective?
Like you say, there's a lot of jargon around and a lot of PowerPoints and buzzwords and phrases that people don't really understand what it means. So we're trying to sort of take that and make it concrete. And the starting point for that really was some of the stuff we did with Tom in Glasgow, the Visual Learning Lab, where we're looking to bring new technology into the hybrid learning space, but then also expand that as well, looking at new aspects of computer vision technology, sensors, connecting different sensors around the building, integrating all that onto a platform and then collecting the data over a period of time and then analysing that data. What is the data showing us? At the minute, I don't think we know. I don't think we know a lot of this stuff. We've got, temperature sensors, humidity sensors, the MySense, the view board, student tracking systems. All this stuff is generating data, but what's it showing us? We don't know yet. So I think we're at the start of a journey, but for me, it's all about sensors, collating the data, analysing the data.
From your perspective, thinking about the students and the teachers within your college, what's your take on that?
Well, over a number of years, I have developed technology into education. And there's always been a resistance in that from staff. And it was always about the pedagogy first, technology second. And in fairness, some of the technology we introduced was cumbersome, it was difficult to use, and it wasn't robust and rigorous enough. So with COVID, there's a phrase goes out there, it said, we're accelerating to the future, because it's not about make, do and mend till we get back to on-campus education. We're at a crossroads and we can either take the left one and go back to pre-COVID, or we can take the right one, which is the future of education, which is fit for purpose, 24/7 availability, available on campus in a hybrid, a blended or a high flex model. So the education system will change. The institutions have to change with it. And my major change is to change the way staff support and teach students. And that's moving from a low base of 10% to, I would say, about 80-90% of staff now want to engage with technology as long as it's simple to use.
Yeah, I heard, gentlemen, an interesting phrase quite recently, which was nomadic learning. And you talk about the fast tracking and COVID.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking, how do you see this sort of EdTech and Internet of Things fitting into that? Do you see that as an interesting development, this idea of a more nomadic learner than we're used to?
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever go to, well, I see it as a spectrum. On this side, we've got face-to-face. On this side, we've got 100% online learning. And everything in between is blended. It's hybrid, 2 days a week, or it's high flex, where the students choose, I want to go to college week 1, week 5, and week 10. But the rest of it, I want to do live on stream, or I want to do asynchronously offline and while I work. So it's very much about students first, and staff have to change. If they don't change, the institution will not survive.
And I guess a key part of that is the technology, making sure it's fit for purpose. So often we have these technology solutions that no one's really thought about how they're going to be used. It's like, here, Tom, here's a great solution. You're like, well, what are we going to do with this? But, so it's trying to make the technology fit the student experience, fit what the staff want, rather than just dictating. And I think that's some of the stuff we've done at Glasgow, trying to go on that journey together.
Without a doubt. I mean, I think management in education expects staff to be in a classroom for 3 hours at a time. They don't care what they do in there. I'm suggesting we do away with that model and we take a typical hour and we have 10 minutes intro, face-to-face, a little lecture if you call it, an activity, go into rooms, collaborative in the room or collaborative online, report back and teach kids not what to learn, but how to learn for the future. And that's what I'm in business of doing, is getting students to be lifelong learners.
Yeah. And from Intel's point of view, looking at a wider perspective on the Internet of Things, are we, I know you've done some work on smart cities and things like that. How do you see that fitting a little bit into education?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird overlap, I think, if you look like the world of work and education. I think the two are very similar. Lots talk about smart cities, buildings with sensors in, trying to make the employee experience better. It's the same education, it's the same thing. The two worlds have collided in a way. It's putting all these different sensors in, but also thinking about how you're doing it, not just sticking a sensor in for, or why do I want that? Actually, how do we integrate it into the student experience?
Yeah. Obviously, there are issues with GDPR issues that we have to overcome. As long as we can anonymise that data, as we do in the Sense board, students love that. And as I said earlier in talks that I've had with people, we have to introduce a bit of fun into learning so that students can relax, engage, and we have to support staff who are naturally nervous in this environment. They've been teaching in a classroom this way for 20 to 30 years, and we're asking them to teach differently. You can't do that without supporting them.
Yeah.
And the technology has to be good, it has to work every time, so that we can withdraw and let them get on with their teaching and learning.
And actually, I was going to say, the technology needs to be the same so when they're teaching at home or they're teaching it in the campus, it's got to be the same experience for them. So there's not trying to learn something new each time. It's the same, it's just like a seamless experience.
That's a challenge actually, because a lot of our students who are online will say we feel as if we're being left out sometimes. So that's a challenge as educators we have to take on board. And what we've done is, with a typical classroom of 10 in the room and 10 online, spread across the world perhaps, we have to stop and say, right, we're going to take some chat now. We're going to talk to everybody. And then maybe go into a room for face-to-face collaboration in that classroom, but go into a virtual room and have virtual collaboration with the staff, the students online, so that they can feel immersed in that experience. Because often they turn their camera off and you don't know if they're engaging. Yeah. It's not just about engagement, it's about attendance and engagement and encouraging people to immerse in how they want to learn.
And that's where the technology comes in. So the people online feeling like they're being in the room. So that's like audio, it's, decent microphones, decent speakers, decent visuals, decent cameras, so that you can feel like you're part of the experience and not sort of sat isolated on your own at home.
Yeah. And, if you had one thing to finish with in this session that you'd say to people listening to this sort of integration, this internet, how do they start from your perspective? What?
I think the thing is to try and see beyond all the buzzwords and the jargon. Don't be afraid to ask and come and speak to people, because actually there's a lot of people really keen to help and not just to sell something. People really want to understand the issues that educators and institutions are having, and how do we work together to make it better.
Yeah.
And from your perspective?
Well, as I said before, my job is about changing the culture and winning hearts and minds to use technology appropriately in education, to introduce innovative pedagogy, which is not an exam or a project week 10, but assessment happening 24/7 in the classroom, whether it's discussion threads or whether it's quizzes or whatever we do. The staff are using that. All we're doing with this technology is integrating it and saying it's easy to use if you just step off the cliff, try something different. And what I say to my staff is, don't plan your lecture. And they go, what do you mean? I said, Go in with a blank piece of paper. You're good teachers. Just try it and see what happens. And all of a sudden, the students are having fun.
Yep.
Brilliant. Thank you, gentlemen. That's some really great thoughts. And as I said, feel free to reach out to us at ViewSonic, at Intel, Glasgow College.
Definitely.
We're happy to talk to you and share our experiences. So thank you and have a great exhibition.
Thanks,
Thank you
Peter.
very much. Bye. Hey.
Woo!